Who's there?
Does this work if I stand? Does this work okay if I'm standing?
Welcome. Sorry, did you two just want to introduce yourselves? I mean, I know that you've been here before, but it's just for the record.
Yes, Tim Lindley, Chair of the Christchurch Coastal Pathway Group, and
Liz Studham, Project Coordinator.
Lovely, thank you.
Right. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Today's a very special day because today in front of you is the revised concept plan for the Christchurch Coastal Pathway, revised after extensive community consultation. We wish to encourage Council to endorse and accept the revised concept coastal pathway plan, because doing so will allow the project to move on to procurement and maintain the momentum that we already have in place with this city-changing project. It's been a pretty exciting 8 months. It's been a pretty exciting 8 months for the Coastal Pathway project. We've had the opening of the first stretch of the pathway, and that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? It was great. We've had the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between Council, the Christchurch Coastal Pathway Group, and the Hagley Ferrymead Community Board. And I want to report to Council that that MOU is working very effectively. It's a living document. We are having weekly meetings with the project manager, and it's just fantastic how well it's going. And we are also working on how the structures in the future will work for managing and governance of the project as it moves forward. We also wish to commend Council for the appointment of Eric Hennepoff as the manager of the Coastal Pathway project. We've found working with Eric to be truly inspirational. He has so much to offer and brings so much to the project in terms of his wisdom in how to manage these projects well, but also in terms of his ability to keep the project moving forward without undue waste of time or of money. Now, the Coastal Pathway, as you know, is aimed to be a multi-user facility, and we expect that during most of daylight hours along the pathway there will be things happening. There'll be people out enjoying themselves like these youngsters here, but there will also, we envisage tourist operators bringing minibuses of people to do things, classrooms coming to the pathway, and lots of stuff happening. We expect that the pathway will indeed be a very busy place as it becomes a major attraction for the region. We're also very interested in its potential for assisting movement of people. Now, this may be as simple as cyclists, dad taking kids to go and visit granny, but if the coastal pathway is properly connected to the envisaged envisaged cycleways, we may even see a return of teenagers from our suburbs being able to bike to school safely, and that would be a fantastic advantage. In terms of this this particular plan, the concept plan that's being presented, there are a couple of issues which have drawn special attention, and I want to talk briefly on both of those, because the first stage of procurement will be for us will be the appointment, the seeking an appointment of an experienced landscape architect skilled in multi-user pathways and familiar with international best practice. The first of these two areas is at Redcliffs Park. Now, if you notice, these two word clouds were from the community consultations at the original concept plan. And in the big one on the left, you'll see bird watching as a major activity. The estuary has changed since the earthquake. I'm a regular estuary user, and one of the things that's happened is that with the uplifting of the coastal pathway end of the estuary, there seems to be much more activity from wading birds. And since the consultation, it's been drawn to our attention that birds are using the coastal margin, especially around Redcliffs Park. And so what we would like is that the landscape architect, who will be appointed following procurement, is able to further enhance the amenity values of this area and to work on the design to maximise the ability of pathway users to enjoy bird watching. And I suspect that doesn't mean just sitting in hides watching, it means walking past and enjoying the wading birds, and also to ensure that the birds themselves are not unduly disturbed. The other area that's drawn particular focus during this the consultation process is Scott Park, and you've heard one deputation on that already. Now, I want to make it very plain that the Coastal Pathway Group is strongly in favour of water sports. We wish to help people be encouraged to take up water sports, and yachting and windsurfing. And I myself was a windsurfer in the 1970s and 80s, and I know full well the buzz that that sport gives. However, the impression that's been created is that there is going to be necessarily a conflict of interest and a potential safety risk if the path meanders through Scott Park and intrudes onto the grassed area. And I think it's worth thinking that windsurfing and water sports happen mostly during the weekends as the busy time and only happens during high tide. And in fact, if you observe the estuary, you'll find that more than 90% of the time during the week where the coastal pathway will be being used, there is no water sports activity happening. And of course, during the winter months, it's more or less 100%. We're also concerned that locating the coastal pathway directly alongside the road and between the road and the car park introduces a crossing where pedestrians and cyclists on the pathway will be confronted with vehicles coming into Scott's Park off a busy road. Now, I don't propose to suggest what the solutions to those might be, but I would very much like, when our landscape architect is appointed, that they have the ability to look at both the Redcliffs area and Scott Park and consider whether amenity values can be improved by designs that perhaps nobody yet has thought of. So in winding up, we do strongly commend the endorsement to you, and you'll notice that that is also supported by Ngāi Tahu. There is a letter that councillors will have received from MKT in support of the coastal pathway, and we do ask that the acceptance is the adoption of the concept plan is such that our landscape architect will have some ability to further improve the amenity values for all users at Redcliffs Beach and at Scott Park. Thank you.
Right, we've got another minute, so are there any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you very much for your submission.
Thank you.
8010 Urbanist Group, or 8010 Urbanist Group, Melinda Clement.
I just had a text message saying she hadn't heard back that the deputation had been approved, so she's no longer going to be making a deputation, but that she has sent an email around with some concerns.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get a copy of that printed off and circulated around the council.
That would be great, thank you. So Topsy Rule. No, so that could also be the same. All right. We'll move on to clause 13, item 2, report of Community Committee Supply of Services Agreement World Buskers Festival Trust. We've got Jeff Cranko, Chairperson World Buskers Festival Trust. Would you like to come forward?
Good morning, my name is Jeff Cranko. I'm the Chair of the World Buskers Festival Trust, and to my left is Stephen Aster, who has been on the Buskers Festival Trust or involved with the festival for the last 14 years. We're representing the other trustees. There's 6 of us in total, and I think you'll find that we're all reasonably experienced and have a fairly good understanding of festivals and the funding requirements that go forward. What I would like to say is this paper that's presented to you for your discussion and opinions is supported by Jodie Wright, who was the founder of the World Buskers Festival, and we've had, and I think in general she supports all of those the key points that are outlined. The fundamental structure and rationale for this paper is to look at the approach and the way the festival is run. What we're looking for is to have a single clear line of responsibility to deliver a festival for Christchurch that continues to rank as the highest satisfaction festival in Christchurch. And we want to make sure that we put the structures in place to ensure that that continues to happen in the future. Obviously, since the earthquakes, just by way of kind of background, the festival used to be around about $1 million to run, just over $1 million, and currently this year's festival in 2014 was just over $2.4 million. So the impact of the earthquakes has been substantial, and we've had to create an entire environment in the park that enables those 300,000 odd visitors and the 650 shows that are put on each festival. So the reason for the paper is to change the core structure so that we get a clear single line of responsibility against a robust and fairly clear statement of intent. As well, we're seeking some extra funding in terms of assisting in that transition from the park structure, taking it back into a street festival, as well as ensuring that we've got all of the appropriate transfer of knowledge and building in some extra redundancy around the creative direction and the other supporting services. So, any questions, please?
That's great. Any questions? Ref Manji?
Yeah, hi there. So why should the council be supporting this festival?
You own it. It's been running for the last 21 years. It's, as I said before, the most successful and most well-liked festival that the city puts on. I think your investment on a per-person visitor basis is under $1, so it's probably one of your best returning festivals in terms of satisfaction as well. A good return on investment, I think you'd say.
Really? Okay. So why should we be giving you an extra $100,000?
To ensure that the festival continues to rate as highly as it does. It has, the festival has certainly is well recognised globally. If we have something like about 50 different buskers coming, of which I think about 15, 20 of them are from overseas. We're recognised globally as being a very good festival, and throughout New Zealand it's recognised as the very best festival. So we want to maintain that and continue to develop it and evolve it.
I mean, do you think council should be involved in owning and delivering festivals?
That's outside of my mandate. You made the decision several years ago to buy the festival. If you want to disinherit it, that's fine, but that's outside of my mandate, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Part of the funding for the $100,000 is for moving it back from the park into the central city. and that's going to be a complicated process. And we're looking for a transition manager to work with the current staff so that that can go as seamlessly as we possibly can do. And it's a changing environment. The city, you know, what's open in the city 10 months from now is uncertain, and we have to make decisions in the next 2 or 3 months. And in order to do that, we have to, we need the additional funds. Yep.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing your deputation here. We'll deal with that item when we get to the committee report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And on that basis, I'll now move on to item 23, the